I'm excited to throw some cards around this morning to answer a very important question that was asked of me by a friend of mine who's going through a pretty big spiritual transformation right now. The question is, as I shed my ego, why do I feel like I'm losing myself, and why does it make me sad? It's kind of like having a friend that is leaving you a little bit at a time. So I thought we would ask the cards this morning what it feels like as the ego gets smaller and our spiritual side becomes stronger. So the first deck, of course, I want to use is Steampunk Lenormand. It's Steampunk Lenormand from Barbara Moore and Diana Camerano. So we are asking that question to our spirit people, our spirit guides, to our higher powers, whoever's looking after us, whoever's guiding our paths, whoever's giving us clues as we go. I get a lot of numbers, a lot of feathers, a lot of coincidences. I do tend to do very unique layouts. I do what is intuitive. I believe when you read cards, you should read intuitively. All right. The heart. How appropriate. The heart is the chakra that connects the spiritual world to the physical world. So this entire thing is about balance and opening up the heart to both sides. What crosses us? Our resistance is change. Typically it's change. We are often resistant to it. Our ego is definitely resistant to change. Okay, so these cards make total sense. We're bringing with us a wanting and a needing to know, which is inherent in all of our egos. We want things to be explained to us. We want to understand things through our ego. Unfortunately, in the spiritual world, you kind of have to let a lot of that go in order to move forward, because a lot of things spiritually don't make logical sense when you try to filter it through the ego. And we're moving towards a gift. There's a spiritual gift waiting for us once we choose to open our hearts, accept that change is coming, accept that we are not going to completely understand it logically, but it's going to be a wonderful gift. Okay. So as we move through and try to balance our lives between the physical and the spiritual, these are outside influences that are going to influence us. Makes a lot of sense already. Yes, absolutely. So this is prosperity of some sort. We're tied through our ego to be searching for that at all times. We want to be safe and comfortable. We want to be prosperous. That's something that we're always seeking with our ego. We're seeking to better, seeking to better, seeking to better. The point that's missed here is we only grow spiritually if we're suffering, which is where this card comes in. We have a lot of burdens to bear, and we feel egoically that there are a lot of burdens to bear in this world. and that they're all coming from the outside. But this is the truth of where we grow. And of course, people are constantly influencing us from the outside. It's interesting that she's holding a glass of wine and she's also holding lavender. That would suggest to me that there's a lot of outside influences that we seek to calm ourselves, or we seek to dampen down our thinking to arrive at a more pleasant state. We're seeking pleasure from the outside world with our ego. So this is a physical comfort and an equilibrium that we're trying to arrive at through the ego, which is impossible, because the truth of it is our spiritual growth and the gifts that we're going to receive spiritually come from our struggles and our suffering. All right, let's check and see what's going on the inside. Okay, so inside, we know that the ego is not holding the key to who we really are. So we're always asking the questions through the ego. Who am I? What am I doing here? We know instinctually the answers are not coming from inside of us. The answers are not in the ego. And this is a nice little gift that we can give ourselves to just accept that fact. And be prepared for some shocking surprises to come to us, revelations that are going to impact us. For instance, I often get incredibly creative ideas that wake me up in the middle of the night, and I must write them down in my journal. And they usually turn out to be something absolutely brilliant. And those are gifts that are given to me because I have very strong creativity. So my messages and spiritual growth are funneled through that creativity. And that's a gift. And I've come to accept that my sufferings are what led me to this spiritual awakening. So it all starts with the heart. The heart is at the center of it all. Okay, these two decks are two of my prototype decks that I've been building and working with. These are like a homemade version because they're not quite ready yet. So I'm going to ask the exact same question that I asked the Lenormand cards. When can we replace that sadness from the loss of the ego with something more peaceful or even joyful? I'm going to use the same layout because I just love that layout. It speaks to me. The layout speaks to me. Everybody should be using the layout that speaks to them. So the 10 of Diamonds. Okay, that's a very appropriate card for the center of our reading. The 10 of Diamonds represents a completion. A physical challenge has been completed, which I would associate with egoic challenges here on this physical plane. And to cross it is the 7 of Diamonds, which is ironically troubles or suffering of some sort. It's a very Buddhist card, if you ask me. And that would be something that crosses us and makes us hesitate or makes us experience challenges. We're bringing with us. We are always exchanging one trouble for another, and that constantly is influencing our suffering. It's as soon as we resolve, complete one struggle, another one will come and challenge us. And it's a never-ending cycle that we're trying desperately to break. And we should be patient and expect that we will break those troubles. As our egos lessen, the troubles also lessen. So let's see what's going on outside. We're seeking something outside of ourselves that we can get behind, that we can really be passionate about, something that's going to answer our egoic questions we're constantly seeking outside of ourselves to answer these difficult questions. This is kind of associated where we're waiting for the arrival of such things. So we're actually actively looking for those things, and we're waiting for those things to maybe cross our path. And we're also looking out for the growth of some troubles. It's very important to understand and remember what our ego is actually used for. It's protection, but it's all just tools. So if you allow that toolbox to run loose and run free, the safety that we gain from our ego and our intelligence as human beings works against us. Let's look at the inside. We're seeking inside to constantly process the truth behind our troubles. We're looking inside the ego to explain away our troubles. But unfortunately, it's not in our ego. Those answers are not in our ego. We also are constantly seeking new paths through our work, through our creativity, to express ourselves in new ways, hoping that that's going to balance us or bring some pleasure into our lives to combat the sufferings. And we're always trying to be smart about our lives here in the physical world. We're trying to outsmart other people or outsmart Mother Nature. But our intelligence only goes so far. This feels, in this position, feels like a Taoist card where you really should not be questioning nature. And if you are smart about things, which is set in the future, it's set in the future column. If you are choosing to be intelligent about your money and your material possessions, you will live within your means, not overspending, not trying to keep up with the Joneses. There's a lot of egoic influences in our personal environment that we can let go of, which is a beautiful in the future column. Slightly different message than our Lenormand cards, but still headed in the same direction. Okay, now let's ask these beautiful prototype cards. I like to call this, for now, I'm calling it my energies deck. It's based on the energies of the chakra. I talk a lot about different energy influences that are in our lives. And these cards kind of play off of that. This is a unique layout that I've set up for this. So this is a unique layout for this particular deck that I like to use because we're learning from different energies that are influencing us. Surprisingly, there are no balance cards in here, life balance cards. So these are all messages about taking action through the different chakras. So the centerpiece would be a message from our self, higher self. We need to remember that in order to overcome our ego and overcome the loss we feel as our ego diminishes, we need to maintain a nice emotional balance. The sad part about the world these days is if you're feeling an emotional imbalance, society looks on that as almost an embarrassment, or that you have a lack of control that other people should have, but hypocritically do not. And it's medicated out of us. If you are having an emotional imbalance, it's pointing you in a direction that needs attention. So Mother Nature is wanting to make sure that we are being authentic. I imagine most of us are actually feeling completely disconnected from her, especially those of us that live in a city. So reconnecting with your authenticity, which also would mean reconnecting with her, is the message that Mother Nature is giving us. And that is how you can ride out the waves of the ego fading. So let's look at a message from Father Universe. This is Mother Nature. This is Father Universe. This is the energy, the spark that gave us animation. We are having issues with feeling of belonging, which is beyond true right now. There's so much separation. There's so much destructive hate between groups. There's tribalism running amok. We feel completely disconnected from one another. This message is from our spiritual community. There's a lot of people that come down here to support us on this journey, and there's a lot of people that are left beyond the physical realm that are hugely in support of us. And they are saying that we are lacking self-expression. You are an individual drop of water in an ocean, and that individual drop of water came out as you. And our final card is a message from our ancestors. Funny, these are all upside down. Spiritual connection. How hilarious is that? We are forgetting our ancestry. We're forgetting all of the ancestors that have given of themselves in order for us to actually be here. There's an intense gratefulness that should be here. And if you sit and meditate on this, that will hugely help to dissolve the ego. Try to spiritually connect to your ancestors through meditation and see how powerful that dissolves your ego. That's a really intense and beautiful card, a beautiful message. So there you have it. This is your message from your higher self, message from Mother Nature, message from Father Universe, message from your spiritual community, both here and elsewhere, and the message from your ancestors. All of this plays out as quite a beautiful message, and I encourage you to think on this, sit with this, meditate, ask yourself questions, and then come up with some solutions, maybe to move forward in these directions. I can't thank you enough for coming and reading with me. If you have any fairly universal questions that you would like me to ask the cards, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll see if I can't make that happen in a future reading. Have a great day.